A new Monmouth University poll shows President Trump's overall approval rating has dropped over the past few months. He currently has a 43% approval rating. That's down slightly from April, which saw him at 44% and 46% in March. In February, before the pandemic started, his approval rating was at 44%. Meanwhile, it looks as though Joe Biden's advantage over President Trump in some of these national polls is starting to slip. According to a recent Reuters Ipsos poll released yesterday, just 2 points now separate the presumptive Democratic nominee and President Trump, essentially making this a toss-up. Biden led by 6 points last week and 8 points the week before. 37% of those polled said President Trump was better at leading the country's coronavirus response. 35% favored Biden. And on job creation, 45% of Americans said Trump was better suited to create jobs. Just 32% chose Biden. For more on this, let's welcome in today's political panel. Joining us now is Spencer Critchley. He's the managing partner of Boots Road Group, a Democratic strategy group. Spencer is also the author of Patriots of Two Nations, Why Trump Was Inevitable and What Happens Next. We also have Inez Stepman, a senior policy analyst at the Independent Women's Forum. Great to see you again, Inez and Spencer. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having it.
All right, so I want to talk about the campaign a little bit. 6 months to go, 6 months minus a couple days. And we're going to contrast two different ads right now that are playing on national TV. I saw these almost as a sign things are getting back to normal. Some people probably hate them, but at least it was that silver lining. Let's talk about this ad here. President Trump is pretty upset about it. The ad was released by the Lincoln Project. It plays off the 1984 Reagan campaign commercial, Morning in America. Here it is slamming the Trump administration.
There's mourning in America. Today, more than 60,000 Americans have died from a deadly virus Donald Trump ignored. There's mourning in America. And under the leadership of Donald Trump, our country is weaker and sicker and poorer.
Daily Beast columnist Matt Lewis tweeted this: "I'm not a Trump fan, but this ad seems negative and depressing and un-Reagan-esque. It feels to me like they're highlighting the negatives about America, not just Trump. At best, the tone feels premature. There's a danger this looks like they're rooting for failure. Just me? No, it's not just me." And I wanted to get your take on it too, Inez. Also, that's just a bad pun, you know, Morning in America with the U.
It's a sad pun. No, I don't think that this is an ad that a lot of Americans are going to find persuasive, but that makes sense given that the folks behind it represent a very, very tiny part of the political spectrum, which is to say Republicans who are adamantly opposed, not just criticize the president, but are adamantly opposed to everything the president does. But yeah, I think that this ad is also unfair. I can see why the president would be upset about that. I mean, it almost is blaming him for the coronavirus deaths in this country. And while it's fine to criticize the president's response and say something should have been done earlier, for example, that is really below the belt to criticize, to try to blame the president. If you want to blame somebody, you should be blaming the Chinese Communist Party.
Exactly. And Spencer, I mean, everybody knows Ronald Reagan's 13th commandment, you know, or the 11th commandment, I'm sorry. I don't know where he got 13th from. The 11th commandment, you don't criticize fellow Republicans, right?
Yeah, I think that these, the Lincoln Project behind this are conservatives of conscience who have renounced the current version of the Trumpist Republican Party. I actually, as a matter of political strategy, think this ad was well targeted. And thanks for mentioning my book. It actually fits into the analysis in the book. The reason that there's this complete at loggerhead situation between pro-Trump and anti-Trump people, I believe, is that we're coming to a head of a trend that's existed since the founding of the country, which is some people who want to live in a world of faith and personal loyalty, and others who want to live in a world of reason and institutions. And I think that's what we're seeing here. The Project Lincoln people are targeting Trump as a person, going after his supporters who support him because they've basically sworn loyalty to him and they believe in him. And it makes no sense to attack him based on facts and logic. So they're going after his failings as a leader. I think that's their thinking, and I think it's working, actually.
Well, you're talking about what you believe to be a mutually exclusive situation where people are either loyal to the president or disloyal to the country because they're, you know, not adhering to advice of the experts. But Inez, there is a third way too here where you can do both things at the same time, right? You can be loyal to the president, loyal to the country, and also, you know, trying to get to the bottom of all this at the same time and supporting the administration for which you work. or, you know, the political party to which you belong, right?
Sure, you can. And I actually want to deeply disagree, I guess, with the analysis of my fellow guest. I don't think that Trump supporters, and I've supported him in some things and criticized him in others, but I don't think that Trump supporters as a whole are impervious to facts and logic. It's
right.
that they are mistrustful of the institutions propagating those facts and logic, sometimes what they call facts and logic, right? So I would say, for example, the media, right? Americans mistrust the media, not just Republicans, because they have gotten a lot of really big and important stories wrong. That's not a mistrust of facts and logic. That's a developed mistrust in those who are claiming to stand for facts and logic. So when people say that they trust the president more than they trust something reported on CNN, that's a rational choice on their part. It's not because they're living in the world of faith or however it was put, or faith of loyalty. It's because they have developed a rational mistrust of the institutions making those claims.
Right, and that's one of the
it's actually not borne out by the facts, though. So if you compare the president's credibility versus any of the mainstream media, he loses every time, but that does not make any difference to his followers. And I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm saying that they are living within a different worldview where facts and logic and faith and loyalty are given different weight.
Well, go ahead, Inez. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just don't think that's an actual analysis of certainly any of the Trump supporters that I know and interact with every day. I do think that if you look at long before, like, politics didn't start with Donald Trump in 2015. There are long-term slides in institutional trust across the board. If you look at public polling, right? You're talking about not just the media, but all levels of government, the presidency, Congress, and virtually every other institution in America. In fact, there's only one institution that has consistently stayed above 50% approval rating for the past decades, and that's the U.S. military. That is virtually the only institution that Americans can agree upon that they trust. So this is a long-term problem, and I don't think it can be boiled down to faith versus facts and logic. I think it's an institutional problem, and the institutions, the corruption in the institutions themselves, have a lot to do with why people mistrust them.
No, that's a great point, Inez, and I think there are also other dynamics at play here, too. We just talked about this with Colonel West and Herman Cain. It's not just a right-left divide on these issues. It's an age divide, too. Younger Americans certainly feel different about this situation than older Americans. Those, you know, who are right now getting paid basically to stay at home more than they would be making at work feel different about it than those who are not getting any kind of income while their businesses suffer. It is a very, very deeply layered and intricate situation, and I think we got a little clarity, somewhat, thanks to Spencer and Inez. Great to see you both. Thanks so much, guys. Look forward to the next convo.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back after this.